Hi, I would like to introduce you to the great horses of Japan. This time is Marzensky. Marzensky is a male horse born in 1974. His father is Nijinsky, who won the British Triple Crown in 1970. Marzensky's mother is called Shill. Shill's mother is Quill, a 14-time winner in the US, and her father is Backpasser, who was considered a good match for Nijinsky at the time. In a word, Marzensky was the world's best bred horse of his time. Normally, a horse like this would not have come to Japan, but through a series of coincidences, he ended up in the hands of a Japanese owner. In 1973, the Hokkaido Light Horse Farmers Association was planning a study trip to the United States, but a last-minute vacancy raised the possibility that the plan would be cancelled. If the trip was cancelled, the cooperative would have had to pay a hefty cancellation fee to the travel agency, so they approached a cattle broker named Mr. Hashimoto, who said yes and agreed to accompany them. Mr. Hashimoto went to see the Keeneland sale, which was an option only for those who wished to attend. There, he happened to meet Mr. Hongo, who would later become Marzensky's trainer. Mr. Hashimoto and Mr. Hongo spotted a mare named Shill at a sale. They appreciated the quality of her horse's body. Mr. Hashimoto, who had seen many cows, said, if she were a cow, she would definitely give birth to a good baby. Of course, cows and horses are not the same. However, this statement by Hashimoto is right on target. Mr. Hashimoto participated in the auction, but they were not the only ones who wanted Shill. There were many rivals. Not only was Shill Quill's daughter, but she had also conceived Nijinsky's child, which drove up the price. After bidding against a French trainer, Hashimoto purchased Shill for $300,000, 90 million yen at that time's exchange rate. This is how Marzensky came to Japan in his mother's womb. Marzensky's legs were turned outward from birth. He had a very fine body, but as he grew, the extraversion of his legs got worse and worse. Some people saw this and said, "This guy will never be a racehorse." This is because a horse with a bent leg is more likely to not be able to withstand hard training. If a mother horse is bred overseas and has a foal in Japan, that foal is called a brought-in horse. In the days when Marzensky was born, as a protection policy for domestic producers, brought-in horses were disqualified from running in big races other than Arimakinen Satsuki Show, Derby, Tenno Show, etc. In October 1976, Marzensky made his debut. As I explained earlier, he was not able to train strongly, but he took the lead immediately after the start of the race and went on to win by a huge margin of 2 seconds over the rest of the field. However, even this seemed to be a run with less than full force. He went on to win the next race by 9 lengths thanks to his tremendous speed. In his third race, he faced off against the highly talented Ishii Speed. Marzensky's jockey waited patiently, thinking that he should wait for his opponent to catch up and then spurt, but he was almost overtaken by Ishii Speed on the straight course. Marzensky picked up speed and got into a dead heat with Ishii Speed, and they finished side by side. The result was a win for Marzensky, but his jockey honestly admitted, "It was a mistake on my part." In December, Marzensky ran in the Asahi Cup Futurity Stakes to decide the 2-year-old champion. After the result of the last race, Marzensky was chased fully in training for the first time. The trainer then instructed the jockey, let him run as hard as he can in this race. As usual, Marzensky led from the start and pulled away from he-she speed on the straightaway to win by 13 lengths, a large margin of 2.2 seconds. His time of 1 minute 34.4 seconds was a new record, which was not broken for the next 14 years. Incidentally, he-she speed's time was 1 minute and 36.6 seconds, which was the standard level for that time. That's one hell of a strong horse. In the following year, 1977, Marzensky set his goal as the umamusume at the end of the year, and furthermore, from 1978, he had a plan to travel overseas. In January, Marzensky registered for a 1600-meter race in the open class, but Marzensky was so strong that the other horses had to cancel their registration, and the number of runners was reduced to 3. In Japan, races that do not attract more than 5 horses are not allowed to be run, but a trainer friend of Marzensky's trainer managed to get 2 of his horses into the race. And Marzensky won this race by 2.5 lengths. However, after this, Marzensky suffered a broken bone and took a rest. He won his first open race back in May by a whopping 7 lengths. It was time for the Derby. As mentioned earlier, Marzensky was not eligible to run in the Derby. Marzensky's jockey still said, "I want to be allowed to run in the Derby. I don't care if it's in the outside. I don't want to interfere with the other horses. I don't want any prize money. I just want to see what this horse can do." In June, Marzensky ran in the Japan Tampa Show. Press Tauco, the winner of the NHK Cup, the prelude to the Derby, ran here. The course was muddy due to the rain that day, so Marzensky's jockey stopped near the 4th corner during the warm-up before this race to check the course condition. Of course, this check was done with the jockey astride Marzensky, but this had an unexpected effect on the race. Marzensky was leading as usual right from the start and had an 8-length lead over the rest of the field, but he suddenly stalled and lost the gap to the rest of the field. People watching the race were worried that he might have broken a bone, but Marzensky had no problem accelerating again and finished 7 lengths ahead of Press Tauco. It was around the 4th corner that Marzensky stalled. He tried to stop himself in the same place, probably as he had done in the warm-up. The second-place finisher, Press Tauco, who was 7 lengths behind Marzensky in this race, would win the Kikasho race about 4 months later. After this, Marzensky ran in a 1200-meter race on dirt in Hokkaido. There was also he-she speed, but he was no match for Marzensky, and Marzensky won by 10 lengths, setting a record time. However, Marzensky began to show signs of leg pain before the umamusume, which was his target for later in the season. Due to his circumstances, Marzensky didn't have many races available to run, so he decided to retire here instead of forcing himself to continue working. His total record is 8 races won. The total difference between him and the second-place finisher in the 8 races was 61 lengths. The running restrictions imposed on broad-in horses such as Marzensky were abolished in 1983. I feel that Marzensky represents a horse that was born in an unfortunate time. Also, many other horses did not run for fear of his overwhelming strength, and never once did more than 10 horses show up for all of Marzensky's races. Marzensky naturally became a stallion with great expectations. He passed on his speed and instantaneous power to his offspring, but he also passed on his stamina, which he never showed in races because he only ran short-distance races. I don't know if he did as well as expected or better than expected, but he produced a lot of great foals. First of all, his first crop, a horse named Marzensky, won the Kikasho race in record time. Suzuka Koban won the Takarazu Kakinen. And Sakurachi Yonoo won the Asahi Cup Futurity Stakes and the Derby. He's the same age as Agri Cap. And a horse named Leo Durban, the same age as Tokai Teo, won the Kikasho. In addition, there are countless other graded race winners. As you can see, his children were very successful, but even more impressive were the children produced by Marzensky's daughter as a broodmare. Let me give you a little introduction. Rice Shower, who's shown in long-distance races. BMW member, winning ticket, who won the Derby. Majiro Bright, winner of Tenno Show Spring. Special Week. I probably don't need to explain him here. Primo Di Nat, winner of the Oka Show. Majiro Bailey, winner of the Asahi Cup Futurity Stakes. Jump Racing Champions, Merci Takao and TM Dragon. He has produced many successful horses, such as. However, Marzensky suddenly died of a heart attack in 1997. He was 23 years old. But his genes have been passed on to many horses and will not be easily discontinued. And the legend of his incredible race will be passed down as well. That's all for this time. If you want to know more about Japanese horses, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.